Hi chaps, we're back in the man cave of an acting teacher one more time. It's a fantastic day outside. I've been out for a lovely walk this morning, getting a bit of sun, discovering new places around where I live that I didn't even know existed, which is fantastic. And today I've just been asked to briefly talk about accents, okay? This is one of the online courses that I offer and that I'm offering and giving to people at the moment, amongst many others, all right? But with accents, right, I know, because a lot of actors tell me that it's one of their most scary things. It's the thing that they hate the most, etc., etc. It's the thing that sort of scares them off. And I think possibly the reason for that is, again, you don't have a system or a technique for coming up with an accent, all right? Now, accents are very important, particularly here in Ireland, okay, because a lot of stuff that's international is shot here, and you will require accents for those, yeah? So, there's, Game of Thrones, which is English. That was done, but there was that. There's The Tudors, which was English. There's Vikings, which is Scandinavian. You'll require accents for all of these, yeah? Now, when you get onto a really big production like that, more than likely, you will have an accent coach on set with you, right, to help you out with this stuff. And they come and knock on your trailer door at the beginning of the day, go through your script with you, make sure that you've got your lines down and the accent is correct for those lines, okay? Now, however, you don't have that accent coach when you go for the screen test or the audition for that piece. And even though, most of the time they're not going to worry too much if it's not 100% accurate, it needs to be 99% accurate. They need to know that, yeah, you're going to nail that accent, and with a little bit of help and a little bit of practice, you'll get it absolutely 110% accurate, right? So yeah, there's lots of different accents that are required here in Ireland, and you won't always get Irish stuff. In fact, there's more other stuff being done here than Irish, sort of indigenous Irish stuff, really. Okay, so what do you need? You need a little bit of a system, all right? So the system that I teach, without giving it away too much, right, is in 3 stages, really, okay? The first is to identify how your sounds of your own accent differ from the sounds of the accent that you're after, that you're looking for, okay? So the first point is to understand your own accent, all right? Once you understand your own accent and the sounds that you make, you then come to an understanding of the accent that you're after, all right, that you're trying to achieve, right? And then you break down which sounds are different from your own accent to that accent that you're looking for. Now, the great thing about that process is that you'll work out that there's only about 5 or 6 sounds that are actually different. And you make a little bit of a list of those, and then you get on top of each one of those sounds, okay? So, for example, right, I say the word with a TH, with. The Cockney accent doesn't. It uses an F, okay? So it goes with, yeah? Now, that will be the same with any other word that has the TH in that place, all right? There will be an F instead of a TH. So once that's just one sound, and it'll be common amongst many words. Same with the TH turning into a V sound in something like rather, all right? Or bother, yeah? Rather, bother, yeah? And once you've got that one sound correct, then you'll notice that it's common around a lot of other words, okay? Same with the T's in little, okay? I would pronounce it like so, like little, okay? The Cockney accent says little, right? So the T is actually a glottal, okay? You don't actually pronounce the T, it goes lit, okay? And then the L becomes a W sound, little, yeah? So you can do this with any accent, right? But what you'll find is that there'll be maybe 4 or 5 consonants, or 3 or 4 consonants perhaps, and maybe 2 or 3 vowel sounds that are different from your accent to that accent. And once you're on top of those particular sounds, all of a sudden you'll kind of feel like you've got a bit of a Cockney accent going on, even if it's not entirely accurate just yet, okay? But I've taken out my T's, and I've got my V's and my TH's in place for those things as well. And then, I've turned my L's into a W and as well, right? And I'm on my way. Now, it's not correct, okay? It's not going to be bang on right. But with practice, okay, of course, after that, you will get it exactly right. And remember, of course, you don't need to use that accent all the time in life, all right? You only need it for the script that you're given, okay? So you take that script and you make sure that you're on top of all of those sounds, all right? So that's the sort of stage 1 of it, yeah? And again, I can take you through that process in a little bit more detail, right? The second stage is a little bit more difficult to kind of explain on a video, but the second stage is to come up with the flavor, generally speaking, of the accent that you're after, all right? So what you do is you create a kind of a cliche, which makes it fun to play with. All right, so let's take a different accent. Let's take, say, New York, okay? So with New York, right, I know that, you know, I would pronounce New York like that, but they would pronounce it New York, all right? So I'm going to go really kind of cliched into New York. I'm going to imagine that I'm in Manhattan and I'm going down Broadway, and I'm going to go into a little cafe, and a fella's going to come over to me and he's going to say, hey, look at this guy. This guy needs coffee. Sit down there, man. Do you like your eggs over easy? How do you like it, right? And I'm going to kind of get into my head that loud, friendly New Yorker that I'm used to when I go to New York and I see these guys, right? Now, once again, right, it's quite general, but it has a flavor to it. You can kind of start being playful, right? But it's very general. It's not quite correct, of course. I'm just playing, right? And of course, there's very specific kinds of accents in every area. In Ireland, there are many different, very specific accents. I mean, Dublin is completely different to Cork, is completely different to here, and Wicklow is completely different to Donegal, which is completely different to Galway. And so you need to be very specific to your area. But first of all, you can start to play with the general nature of it, right? Even if it's not correct, right? And that's really important, is to have fun with the accent. If you kind of hate it and you're scared and you don't like the sound of your own voice when you're playing with that accent, it's going to be harder to discover it. So have fun with it, be incorrect, be wrong, and then the more you do it, the closer you will get to getting it correct and being right with it, okay? All right, so then after that, there's a third stage, right? And that, of course, is what I was just talking about there, the absolute specifics of your character, all right? So let's say if it's the New York accent, there's 5 boroughs in New York, all right? And each one of them has a very different kind of sound and a different kind of accent to it. Your character may be from Harlem as opposed to Manhattan or the Bronx or somewhere else, you know, and you're going to have to make it very specific to that area. That, of course, takes research, right? And then you'll get the flavor specifically of your own character, exactly where they're from, and then the step again into characterization is to come up with the actual unique sound of your character's voice as opposed to another character from the same area. And that's more of a characterization stage that you get to then when it's quite advanced and quite specific, right? So you can do this with any accent, all right? And it's not about being able to do it as a party trick. That's impersonation, right? And that's great. There are impersonators out there who are brilliant at all sorts of accents. They can do them as a party trick. That's not what you're aiming to do. It doesn't matter if you can't do that at all. It's about discovering it by technique, exactly what that sound is and what that dialect is that you're specifically looking for. Now, that makes it sound like it's very easy to do any accent, and it's not, okay? And the reason for that is that sometimes you will have sounds, there'll be sounds in particular dialect, rather, that you just can't make, all right? That's when it gets tricky. Like I was teaching an Israeli student recently who was over here in Ireland and wanted to learn an Irish accent, right? So we chose a sort of a general south of the Liffey kind of Dublin accent to work on. And there were certain sounds in it that she just couldn't make. And she had that kind of Israeli-American sound to her voice. And there were a couple of sounds that we just couldn't get on top of, right? In the time that we had before she had to leave the country, right? But she got it pretty good. She was pretty accurate with that accent, but there was just a couple of sounds that the actual palate of her mouth couldn't make. I can't remember which ones they were now, but there was an O sound, a hard O sound that was in the Irish accent that she just couldn't make. She couldn't make that sound. Her palate wasn't shaped that way. So I would make that sound and then she would try and repeat it and it'd sound different to mine. And I'd go, no, this. And she'd go, this? I go, no. She's going, but I'm hearing the same thing, but it was 2 different things. So that's when it gets tricky. And when that happens, you actually have to retrain the shape of your mouth and the shape of your palate to actually get those sounds correct and get them right. But that's very rare, in fact. You know, most of the time you'll be able to get a fairly accurate rendition of the accent that you're looking for, okay? Start with solving the sounds. Number 2, get a general, stereotypical, fun, cliche feeling for it. and then on the other side of that, get really specific, okay, so that it's so that it pays the accent the respect it deserves. But enjoy it and have fun doing it. All right, that's a little bit of a talk about accents today. I'm going back out in the sun. You guys have a great time. Remember, if you want any classes with me, I'm running them all the time now on Skype or Zoom or whatever. We can work it out. All right, so be in touch. Catch you later, guys. Bye.